Sometimes being a GM is a lot like this. We never know what the players are going to choose, but we have the power to provide them with compelling options. If we do that skillfully, players will be lured in to investigate and discover the narrative we are prepared for. To achieve that, we use plot hooks. A plot hook is an in-game element that inspires a strong motivation to pursue a course of action that furthers the plot or enriches a narrative in a game. So essentially, a plot hook is a promise to players that if they follow a certain path, something interesting is going to happen. So, for example, if we want our characters to explore a demon-infested forest, perhaps we'd use something like this. As you sit there in the tavern, an old man approaches your table. He looks a bit worried and tells you about a demon that lurks in the woods. This is a good first draft, but this hook is missing something. Can you tell what? Pause the video and think about it. The problem here is that this hook doesn't inspire a strong motivation. It doesn't speak to the player's characters or drives them to act. So let's try this again. An old man with a gray beard approaches your table and asks you to save this town from a monster. He seems desperate and is willing to pay you 200 gold coins if you can locate the creature and defeat it. This is a lot more appealing, right? This hook works well for greedy or heroic player characters. Let's do another example. A sinkhole opens in the middle of the town square, revealing ruins of an ancient temple. You recognize the glyphs on one of the intact walls. You have seen them on the order that killed your family. Notice that I described that hook with a specific character in mind. While the others in the party may not care much for delving into old temples, this character will. For them, it's personal. That character will be highly motivated to explore this place, and this is usually enough for the rest of them to follow suit. So the conclusion here is that when we plan a hook, we need to ask ourselves why the characters would engage with it. What opportunity does our hook present for them? Some characters are heroic, others want gold, favors, or reputation. Understanding the motives of your characters will give you more tools to direct them without being forceful. If you are uncertain what motivates them, the safest way to hook your players is by making it personal. That's one of the reasons we discussed building a character with the players in the communication chapter. By bringing their story into the spotlight, we can be certain that they will care about it. Once a hook is picked up by the party, we have to make good on our promise. If the characters choose to explore the temple because it's related to one of their members' backstory, yet they find nothing more about it inside, it will make the hook feel like a cheap, unsatisfying trick. While character backstories make for the strongest hooks, using them won't always fit the plot we have in mind. We can make up for that by using several hooks that lead to the same plot. Say you want your players to take a bounty on a monster that lurks in the woods. You could have a note appear on a notice board with a promise of gold. You could have a friend of the party ask them to do it. You could even grant a vision to one of the mystical player characters. If the party ignores all of these hooks and refuses to go into the woods, perhaps someone they care about disappears after a couple of days, possibly captured by the monster. This method should be used with caution, however. Repeatedly offering hooks that all lead to the same plot will make your game feel like a railroad. Players might grow frustrated that you are forcing them to engage with one specific plot. Remember, not engaging with a hook is a valid choice for players to make. Like we mentioned earlier, we don't want to step over the player's agency. It's possible that our promised plot isn't compelling enough or doesn't fit the player's playstyle. We don't want to push them towards a story that they aren't interested in. However, not picking a hook is still a choice, and choices have consequences. When the players ignore or refuse a hook, it actually opens up new opportunities for us as game masters. Let's go back to the monster bounty example. After several failed attempts at hooking the players, let's choose to resolve this plot rather than forcing them into it. Another bounty hunter steps in to complete the task instead. But we still want to make the choice not to engage meaningful. So we decide the bounty hunter is associated with an enemy of the player characters. Now that the town trusts the bounty hunter, the enemy can start working on some other nefarious plan, which can provide us with a premise for the next plot. If your players avoid all the hooks you present, it's usually a sign of miscommunication. One of your roles as a game master is to gently guide the players to create a story that everyone enjoys. Remember that everyone includes you. That's why you had session 0 when you discussed your expectations for the game. If the expectation was that the party would be a group of heroes, and yet they avoid all heroic choices, it means something is off and you should communicate that to your players. Try to be direct about it. Ask the players why their characters weren't interested in plot opportunities they encountered. Tell them why you thought they would be interested and practice genuine curiosity when asking what is likely to get the characters involved in future plots. Alright, let's practice writing some hooks. Open the Chapter 4 worksheet and find the Plot Hooks section. Describe 2 hooks that were used to motivate characters to engage with the fictional story you chose for this chapter. Consider why did those hooks work for those characters. I hope you now feel more confident in your ability to present compelling hooks that your players will follow. In the next lesson, we will learn how to develop our plot after the characters are hooked and how to keep the players engaged in it. See you there!